10. The faceless whale sea creature. In late April of 2021, on Broadhaven South Beach in Pembrokeshire, Wales, residents discovered a 7-metre-long unknown sea creature that was estimated to weigh an incredible 4 tons. The body of the creature was in a severe state of decomposition, which made it extremely hard to recognize. It appeared to be brownish-grey in color, with some bones that were quite exposed. It also had no clear facial structure or head, making identification of its species even more difficult. The Marine Environmental Monitoring Organization shared pictures of the creature on their Facebook page shortly after its discovery, where they also stated that they believed it could be a type of whale due to its size. However, once experts arrived at the scene to further inspect the creature, they realized and determined that it wasn't a whale, but instead a sea animal called a basking shark. They were able to corroborate this conclusion with the fact that one of the bones they found on the creature's body was a vertebrate, seemingly identical to that of the ones basking sharks have. They couldn't determine it for sure, however, so they sent samples in for further testing. The experts are still waiting to see what the true identity of this mysterious sea monster is, but they're not positive they'll ever know how the creature died and ended up on shore. Number 9. The New Zealand Sea Monster. Found on Pukahina Beach in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, this bizarre finding fueled wild rumours of an undiscovered sea monster being brought to light. The corpse of this animal had a large head, flippers, and most noticeably, rows of long, sharp teeth. But the beachgoers who made the discovery were unable to figure out what animal it was exactly because of how far the body had decayed. One visitor to the beach uploaded a YouTube video of the creature, asking if anyone could identify what it was, leading to many theories. Eventually, a marine life expert named Anton van Helden was able to come to the conclusion that the beast was most likely an orca whale, an animal commonly sighted in the Bay of Plenty. He told newspapers that he was able to pinpoint this based on the fin structure of the creature and how it compared to orcas. This situation drew attention to the large number of sea creatures that have washed ashore in many places at advanced stages of decay, which led people to assume they were an undiscovered species, or sea monsters, based solely on how decomposition made them completely unrecognizable to most. 8. The Hollingworth Lake Monster. In the year 2015, a mysterious fish washed up on the shore of Lake Hollingworth in Greater Manchester, England. The fish was 1.5 meters long, with a large triangular-shaped head and razor-sharp teeth. The creature sparked a frenzy across various social media platforms, with some speculating it was an ancient sea monster that had washed up from the depths of the lake. Others argued it was merely a dead pikefish. Many people out walking and visiting near and on the lakeshore caught a glimpse of the strange fish. One man, Johnny Beckett, was shocked to stumble across the beach while on a date with his partner Suzanne. He said that at first glance, he thought the animal was a crocodile because of its size, and his first instinct was to start taking photos of the beast once he got closer to it. Another man, Myron Simenskaj, posted his own pictures of it online, asking if anyone knew what it was. The argument that the fish was only an oversized pike started due to the fact that pikes inhabit the lake and are regularly seen, and that some pikes can grow up to 1.2 meters long, which led some to believe this one was just a particularly large outlier. This didn't convince everyone though, and some residents of the area have vowed to stay away from the lake from here on out. 7. The Scotland Sea Creature. In 2013, David Mackland and some of his family were walking along the shore of East Haven Beach on Scotland's east coast. However, their relaxing trip took a turn for the strange when they stumbled upon the dried-out, decomposing body of an unknown fish-like animal. Macklin told the UK Evening Telegraph that he estimated the beast was between 1.2 to 1.5 meters long and at least a foot wide. He assumed it to be some species of eel, but he was still pretty shocked since he had rarely ever seen a large sea animal washed up on the shore like this. Online theories began to roar about what the animal could be, with some claiming it was a pike, eel or shark, and others saying it was the Loch Ness Monster or a dinosaur. Those are pretty bold suggestions. St Andrews aquarium expert Stephen McKelvey theorized that the beast was either an oarfish or a conger eel, two species that had been spotted near East Haven Beach in the past. Mackland later returned to the beach after a few days to help clean the creature's corpse up and send it to the St Andrews Aquarium, where professionals were able to identify it as the previously mentioned conger eel. Oh, not Nessie. Do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. 6. The 2012 marine monster. In March of 2012, Folly Beach in South Carolina saw a massive, bizarre animal wash up on its sandy shores. The creature had tannish brown skin and patterns of green and yellow spread throughout its body, but the strangest thing about it were the bony plates that extended in lines on its sides. While the exact length of the creature wasn't properly recorded, it's estimated to extend at least 3 meters. Like a lot of washed-up carcasses, it carried both a salty stench and an air of mystery. Speculation ran rampant, with commenters suggesting that the creature was everything from a dinosaurian sea monster to a toxic spawned mutation to a chupacabra. Scientists, however, were somewhat more skeptical. Dr. Shane Boylan of the South Carolina Aquarium was able to determine that the creature was an Atlantic sturgeon, one of the oldest bony fish in the world, that's existence can be dated all the way back to prehistoric times. They've also been known to be massive in size as well, sometimes getting up to 4.5 meters long and weighing over 230 kilos, which accounted for the sheer size of the beast. Number 5. The Beast of Tenby. Unlike many of the previous findings on our list, this discovery didn't appear to be a fish-related creature. Found on South Beach in the town of Tenby in Wales, this strange creature was completely hairless with 4 clearly defined limbs. A 27-year-old man named Peter Bailey was walking his dog, Maisie, on the beach when he came across a body he assumed was that of another dog. He called in local authorities, who quickly arrived at the scene. Bailey said his dog was the first to spot the creature, rushing up to it and running around in circles and chasing a tail. At first, Bailey assumed it was a Jack Russell Terrier, but when he got closer and had a better look at the body, he saw it was something else entirely. The carcass was extremely bloated and had the face of a horse, bear-like claws, and a body shape and stature that resembled a pig. Dr. Dan Foreman, a professor at Swansea University's College of Science, believed the creature was a badger because of its size and the fact that it had 5 claws on each foot. A spokesman from the Pembrokeshire Council said he thought the animal was a dog that had become bloated over time due to exposure to the salt water, but to this day, no one seems to be 100% certain on what this creature could be. 4. The East River Monster. In the summer of 2012, a New York City resident walking along the East River under the Brooklyn Bridge discovered a very strange animal carcass. She took photos of the body and uploaded them online, where speculation instantly kicked off. The New York City Parks Department issued a statement claiming it was a pig, but people had doubts. Some pointed out that it couldn't be a pig because of the animal's feet, and that its toes didn't even come close to resembling the hooves pigs have. Cornell University animal expert Paul Curtis told the press that he believed the body was that of a small dog that had fallen into the river, drowned, become bloated and disfigured because of the water, and then resurfaced. Animal Planet personality and River Monsters host Jeremy Wade also chimed in on the subject, stating he didn't believe the body was a pig either. Most people simply said it was a giant bloated rat because, well, you know, New York. 3. The California football fish. Beachgoers at Crystal Cove State Marine Area in Laguna Beach, California, spotted a bizarre fish washed on shore in early May of 2021. The fish was pitch black in color, with a large, gaping mouth, sharp teeth, and a long appendage sprouting from the top of its head. It was identified as a Pacific football fish shortly after pictures of it had gone viral on social media, and animal experts began to point out how rare it is to see any species of anglerfish in person. Seeing as these fish usually stick to the deepest parts of the ocean and rarely venture up towards the surface of the water. They were also able to confirm that this specimen was a female football fish because of its size and coloration, as female anglerfish grow much larger than males and are the only ones to have the protruding stalks on their heads. Did you know that? They use these stalks to produce a bioluminescent light that allows them to attract prey in the dark, deep sea waters they live in. The fish's body is currently in the hands of the California Fish and Wildlife Department, and it is being kept for research purposes to study and further understand these interesting and elusive creatures. 2. The Ainsdale Beach Mystery. On July 29th of 2020, a man discovered a large, smelly carcass on the shore of Ainsdale Beach in England. The anonymous man said the animal had both fur and flippers, which made it seem especially odd to him. The Ainsdale Community Facebook group shared images of the body, and debate sparked over what in the world the creature could be. Some thought it was a deformed whale, while others thought it looked like a horse, cow, or even an elephant. That seemed a bit far-fetched. Eventually, the creature was confirmed to be a whopping 5.4 meters long. Some online users have even more interesting and wild theories, with one poster thinking it was a woolly mammoth and another wondering if it was a whale that ate a cow. Stephen Aliff, a senior advisor at Natural England, stated that the creature has yet to be identified. He stated that it appeared to be some species of whale, but the decomposition of the body was at such a poor state that it would be hard to fully identify the specifics of it for quite some time. The animal's remains were eventually removed from the beach with the help of an animal removal company, and they are now being studied, though no conclusive statement on the species of the animal has been shared with the public. Number 1. The Montauk Monster. On July 23, 2008, 26-year-old Montauk, New York resident Jenna Hewitt and 3 friends were out together at Ditch Plains, a beach roughly 2 miles to the east of their town. Hewitt said she and her group were looking for a place to sit and set up all their stuff when they noticed a group of people gathered around something. They got closer and saw it was a bizarre, hairless creature. Hewitt was able to snag a photo of the creature, which ended up being featured in an article about it in a local paper. It was said to be about the size of a cat. East Hampton Natural Resources Director Larry Penny claimed the body was that of a raccoon that was missing its upper jaw. Hewitt and a group of friends were also interviewed on the local TV network Plum TV, where they provided further details on their story and opinions on the creature. The story continued to gain traction after that, with multiple weblogs and newspaper companies picking it up until it even reached national news. It eventually began to reach urban legend status. In terms of what the Montauk Monster actually is, initially some people speculated it was a shellless turtle. Others thought it was a dog, raccoon, or some kind of rodent. The most widely accepted theory now is that it was a bloated, hairless raccoon carcass that had been severely affected by water damage.
Number 8. Wolf of Swason. The year is 1765 in the northeast part of Paris, known as the Soissons Commune. The peaceful neighbourhood had no idea of the horror that would come to them. Lurking in the shadows, waiting for its chance to attack, was a terrifying beast, now dubbed the Wolf of Swason. This was a particularly violent wolf, and on the last day of February it finally struck. In the parish of Septmont, it claimed its first victims, an unsuspecting pregnant woman. After finding her mutilated body, locals took the child still trapped in her womb. They rushed to get the baby baptised before it passed away. While they were preoccupied with the unborn child, 300 yards away from the first crime scene, the wolf attacked again. This time, its target was another woman and her son. Luckily, the pair survived, fighting off the wolf side by side. The next day, on March 1st, the wolf pounced on a man near the hamlet of Courcelles. The man survived with serious head wounds. Some of its next victims wouldn't be so lucky. 2 young boys were hit on the road to Paris, then a farmer who lost parts of his face, and a 17-year-old boy who was on the receiving end of a surprise attack and was slain. After these crimes, the Wolf of Swason escaped to Bazoches, almost decapitating a woman on its way. A young girl witnessed the terrible scene and ran to the nearest village to warn them. 4 men there decided to set up an ambush on the wolf, but when the face-to-face battle finally came, they were overtaken. More villagers came to help, cornering the wolf into a courtyard, where a tamed dog fought it from a chain. Eventually, the chain broke, and the dog chased the wolf into a pasture where it killed many sheep and cattle. Finally, the ordeal ended when a member of the local militia named Antoine Savarel came onto the scene. He managed to take down the wolf with a pitchfork, pinning its head to the ground for over 15 minutes until a peasant came to help finish the kill. Overall, the Wolf of Swason killed 18 people, and the people of Soissons would remember forever this brutal attack. Number 7. The Man-Eaters of Tsavo. In 1898, the British owned much of East Africa and wanted to build a 1,000-mile-long stretch of railway across the land. They outsourced much of the labour to Sikh workers instead of doing the hard work themselves. In the tough African conditions, many of these workers died, with their bodies being left in mass grave sites along the railway. These grave sites made the perfect meal for animals in the area, particularly lions, giving them a taste for human flesh, and they were hungry for more. Over the span of 9 months, the lions repeatedly snuck into the workers' camp at night. They would crawl into the men's tents and drag sleeping workers away to a certain doom. Imagine waking up to that horrific scene. The British managers tried everything to help the workers, sending out hunting parties, building giant thorn fences, as well as setting traps. None of these methods worked. The thorns were an oversight on their part, considering the lions grew up in the jungle and likely avoided them their whole lives. Finally, the beasts were brought down by a man named John Henry Patterson. Using a .303 caliber rifle, the first lion took 5 shots, and then the second took 8, one of which was a direct headshot. After all was said and done, the man-eaters of Tsavo had claimed 135 victims total. Number 6. The Beast of Gévaudan. Most of the creatures on this list have been identified as a certain type of animal, whether they're lions or a crocodile, but this next entry is a bit more mysterious. The site of its attacks was south-central France during 1764 to 1767. Descriptions of the beast vary. People claim it was the size of a cow with a long head, flat nose and broad chest. They say its tail was much longer than a regular wolf's and that it had a small tuft of fur at its ends. Some say it was just a vicious dog, while others claim it was a striped hyena or some sort of wolf-dog combo. Whatever it was ferocious, striking fear into the hearts of French countrymen. Public panic at the time of the attacks led some to believe there were supernatural forces at play. It's estimated that there were over 610 attacks from the beast, 500 of them ending in death, with 98 victims partially eaten alive. Reports say that it was killed multiple times, being somehow brought back from death over and over until the killing stopped. It wasn't until the royal family got involved that peace was finally returned. Louis XV hired 2 professional wolf hunters named Jean-Charles Marc-Antoine Vomesle Deneval, along with his son Jean-Francois, to bring an end to the beast. The pair brought 8 bloodhounds along with them that were skilled in the art of wolf hunting. It wasn't until months later that they would succeed in killing a large wolf, its female mate and 2 full-grown pups that the attacks finally slowed down, with the male wolf being sent to Versailles to be stuffed. The last of the attacks didn't end though until Jean Chastel, a local hunter in the area, brought down a beast on Montmouchet. To this day, the truth surrounding the Beast of Gévaudan is a mystery, but the killings and terror it spread remain a chilling fact. What animal are you most afraid of? Have you ever been attacked by an animal? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more like this. Number 5. The Leopard of Pannar. During the early 20th century, a terrifying beast known only as the Leopard of Pannar killed over 400 people, naming it one of the most prolific animal serial killers in history. The leopard lived in the northern part of India, and similar to the man-eaters of Tsavo, first got its taste of humans from the dead. A cholera outbreak had hit the area, leading to plenty of corpses for it to choose from. But once the sickness had literally died out, the food source was gone and the leopard proceeded to hunt himself. Years passed as villagers tried to trap and kill the cat with no success. The beast was highly intelligent, able to recognize any trap set out with ease. No one knew when he was about to strike until it was too late. He sometimes even snuck right inside people's homes, dragging them away right in front of their terrified family. Finally, Jim Corbett enters the scene. Jim was a famous big cat hunter with years of experience. He first tracked the leopard to a man's house only to find the man's wife torn to shreds by the leopard. The beast had sunk its teeth around her throat and dug its claws into the woman's breasts. Somehow the woman was still alive by the time Corbett got there. He's quoted as saying in a journal entry, "I very sincerely hope that no one who reads this story will ever be condemned to seeing and hearing the sufferings of a human being or of an animal that has had this misfortune of being caught by the throat either by a leopard or a tiger, and not having the means, other than a bullet, of alleviating or of ending the suffering." Finally, Corbett succeeded in killing the leopard in 1910. He used 2 goats to lure the beast out and wounded it with a shotgun. He then lined his men up with torches to give him light, telling them not to run at the sight of the monster. When the creature appeared, all of them took off, with one dropping their torch. Luckily, the dim light provided enough for Corbett to deal the final blow, shooting the leopard square in its chest. Number 4. Sankabetsu Brown Bear. This next beast may not have as many victims in its claim to fame as the rest of the killers on this list, but the legend surrounding it and the gruesome nature in which it hunted earned it a spot. The Sankabetsu Brown Bear killed 7 people during November and December of 1914 in Japan. After a long hibernation, the bear made its way down to populated areas and wreaked havoc. Its first appearance was the home of an Ikeda family and didn't amount to much. The bear did manage to spook the family's horse though, leading them to shoot at it to get it away from their animals. They had little success, only managing to wound it as it escaped. If only they had succeeded. The bear's next victims weren't so lucky. The Asata family was minding their own business, going about their day, when the monster entered their home in broad daylight, killing a baby and dragging a woman into the forest where it proceeded to eat her. The Asatas were horrified and quickly took up weapons to try and at least save the woman's remains. They managed to land one shot, giving the bear its second gunshot wound, though the beast escaped again. It got to the home of the Miyokes, where men were guarding women and children after hearing of the attacks. It broke through the window and mauled 7 people, killing 5 total and leaving a partially eaten pregnant woman. The police in the area gathered a force of 60 strong, armed men, tracking the beast from a trail of blood. They killed the bear on December 14th under the shade of a Japanese oak. After investigating the bear, they found it was over 2.68 metres tall, weighing 339 kilos. They suspect the creature prematurely awoke from its hibernation due to a lack of food in the harsh winter. Number 3. Gustav, the killer croc. Thought to be born about 66 years ago, around 1955, a giant crocodile has haunted the waterways of Burundi in the Nile River. Measuring over 6 metres long, Gustav, the killer crocodile, dwarfs regular-sized crocs weighing almost 900 kilos. This croc has eaten almost 300 people. Most crocodiles go for large game animals like zebra or buffalo, but Gustav prefers human beings. Gruesome witness reports say he doesn't like to eat people whole. He'll take a bite out of someone, then move on to his next victim, killing just for the thrill of it, it seems. Locals of Burundi have even commonly come across trails of half-eaten bodies left behind after Gustav's meal. You may be wondering how such a terrifying beast came to an end. Well, he hasn't yet, to our knowledge at least. His last sighting was in 2009 near Lake Tanganyika. Many capture attempts have been attempted though, with a documentary even being made about scientists like Patrice Faye trying to conquer the mighty Gustav. The film was called Capturing the Killer Croc, and in it, Faye's team tried using a giant trap cage almost 9 metres long. In a last-ditch effort, they left a goat in the cage and found it had been eaten next morning, with the cage left partly submerged. The scientists were eventually forced to leave the country with no luck catching Gustav. He may still be lurking in the depths of the Nile, waiting for his next victim. Number 2. The elephant of Aberdare Forest. Once again, back to East Africa, this time in the 1940s, our next listing features an elephant. While most elephants are relatively docile, attacking only when feeling threatened, this one in particular was especially vicious. Over a period of months, the rogue elephant of Aberdare Forest went on a rampage from village to village and farm to farm, killing dozens. No one from the small villages was able to take down the monster, so they resorted to calling in a professional hunter. J.A. Hunter, yes, that's his name and job title, focused on big game animals. He scoured the African savanna, killing thousands of rhino with his trusty rifle. Occasionally, villagers would ask him for help killing murderous monsters, which just so happened to be the case here. Hunter first gathered info on the beast from the locals before attempting his hunt. While talking to some, he wrote down details of one gruesome attack. They heard the man's screams as the elephant caught him. The great brute put one foot on its victim and pulled him to pieces with its trunk. Then he stamped the body into the ground and went away. After hearing that description, we doubt we'll ever look at an elephant the same way. Thankfully, the beast of the Aberdare Forest succumbed to Hunter's skills. An autopsy was performed on the elephant after its death. A bullet was found lodged in the nerve centre of one of its tusks. Scientists believe this to be the reason for its violent outbursts. Number 1. Jersey Shore Shark. One of the most famous horror films of all time was actually based on a true story. That's right, the monstrous shark from Jaws is more fact than fiction. For 12 long days in July of 1916 along the Jersey Shore coast, a terrifying man-eating shark was on the hunt. Its first attack claimed 4 victims and led shark hysteria to spread throughout the area. It's estimated that almost $250,000 in tourist money was lost, which is close to $6 million today. After losing out on such a big source of income, the locals in the area said enough was enough. Hordes of people gathered brandishing nets, guns and even TNT. They killed whatever fish they could find. There weren't as many regulations and guidelines to follow back then, so not many people saw a problem with this. While everyone on Jersey Shore was going mad with shark fever, Michael Schleiser, a lion tamer, captured and killed a shark weighing over 145 kilos and measuring 2.2 metres long off the coast of Manhattan. After investigating the shark's belly, human remains were found, leading to the belief that the beast had finally been caught. And since no more shark attacks continued after its capture, Jersey Shore residents were once again able to party in peace.
Number 10. Galaxy Tombs. Archaeologists working in eastern Sudan have stumbled upon thousands of ancient medieval Islamic tombs in the middle of the desert. This discovery is amazing enough by itself, but researchers noticed something a little odd about the tombs. They're shaped like galaxies. By this, we mean the burials are spread out in such a way that from looking down, they resemble stars in the universe. Burials even seem to be clustered around one particular tomb that holds a major importance, kind of like how our own Milky Way is centered around the Sun. According to Live Science, the tombs were discovered in the state of Kassala. By using satellite images as well as fieldwork, the international team of researchers identified over 10,000 tombs. These tombs span an area of around 2,500 kilometers. Archaeologist Stefano Costanzo says there is an obviously deeper meaning to how the tombs were arranged. However, scientists are not exactly clear what that deeper meaning could be, or why these ancient people were so fixated on copying the stars above while creating these vast graveyards. The most significant tombs, those which are found in the middle, have been compared to galactic centers, with researchers saying the younger burials branch out like stars. It's believed that the Beja people created the cemeteries nearly 2,000 years ago. Not much is known about the Beja, other than how they lived in Sudan even after the great Nubians had all vanished. Number 9. Underwater lizards. Evolutionary biologists have recently discovered how some species of lizard have the ability to breathe underwater. Biologists from the University of Toronto have successfully shown how the anolis lizard breathes underwater by keeping an air bubble close to its snout. It basically makes its own little diving helmet. Anoles are a group of lizards that live in the tropical Americas. These are semi-aquatic reptiles that dive underwater for long periods of time to avoid predators. Researchers say they can stay submerged for almost up to 20 minutes. But for the longest time, scientists couldn't figure out how they were breathing down there. But now, after great study, they realized anoles have a kind of natural rebreathing technology. Anoles exhale air to form a bubble which then clings to their nose. The lizard can continue to inhale that air over and over again for about 20 minutes before it needs to resurface. They can't use the air bubble forever, but it sure is convenient for longer diving missions. Researchers measured the oxygen in the air bubble and saw that it decreased over time, just like a depleting scuba tank. This is arguably one of the most amazing newly found adaptations of an animal, which scientists say it learned through evolution, since being able to stay submerged underwater meant a higher chance of survival by eluding predators. The only other creatures scientists have studied that can do this are arthropods, water beetle-like creatures. Number 8. Medieval French coins. A Polish treasure hunter has discovered a remarkable hoard of riches over 10 years of plodding through fields and forests with his trusty metal detector. This guy has discovered the wreckage of an American Sherman tank, a scabbard used by a soldier in Napoleon's army, and all kinds of other relics from Europe's violent history. But just recently, in November, he made the discovery of his lifetime in northeastern Poland. In a cornfield, he discovered silver coins that were minted over 1,100 years ago. The coins are French, and they were buried over 1,000 miles away from modern-day France. Ever since the discovery, scientists have been trying to figure out how the coins could have ended up so far away. One of the most likely theories was purported by a Polish archaeologist who suggested the silver coins may have been procured by the Viking army when it laid siege to Paris back in 845. For those who don't know the story, the Vikings sailed to Paris on the River Seine, threatened to destroy the city, and said they would only leave if they were given over 2 tons of silver. They were basically like mobsters demanding money for protection, and many historians have referred to 845 as the beginning of an elaborate protection ring that lasted well into the 11th century, with the Vikings even imposing a safety tax in England. And if the Vikings weren't paid, you'd better believe they would bring the hammer down. The silver coins were discovered roughly 50 kilometers from the Polish village of Biskup Peak, where the Vikings once had a major trading post. It's likely that the silver coins were extorted from Paris, brought to Poland, and then buried for later use, only to be lost and forgotten for over 1,000 years. 7. A human bone. An actual human bone has been discovered in one of the last places you'd expect. It was found in a landfill in Kingswoodford, England. Nobody knows who the bone belongs to or exactly how it ended up in the dump, but police were spotted at the Himley Quarry landfill site at around 11 o'clock in the morning searching for clues. They had to section off the area as they looked for evidence of more human remains. It's not every day that bones are found at the dump. Unfortunately, nobody knows how long the bone had been in the landfill before it was identified. The police were reluctant to say whether it was part of a criminal investigation or if it had archaeological significance. They also neglected to say what kind of human bone it was. It could have come from a murder victim, from a forgotten medieval grave, or even from somebody's trash. Last we heard, the bone was going for forensic and archaeological analysis, with the spokesman for the police saying there was no criminal investigation at this stage. Still, just one bone found randomly in the landfill is quite the mystery. Where do you think the bone came from? Who do you think it could have belonged to? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 6. Chocolate frog. Scientists have discovered a chocolate frog. That's right, a chocolate tree frog. Of course, this amazing specimen isn't actually made of pure chocolate. You can't eat it. Well, you could, but it probably wouldn't taste very good. The discovery was made in New Guinea, with scientists identifying a tree frog directly related to tree frogs that live in Australia. We've all seen the traditional green tree frog. It's one of the most popular household pets for those who like to collect lizards and frogs. But just across the water in New Guinea, there's a frog that is almost exactly the same as the green tree frog, only coloured chocolate. Researchers now believe that the chocolate frog diverged from ordinary green frogs in Australia millions of years ago and are now widespread through New Guinea. It's just hard to see them because they blend in so well with their surroundings. The frog is a fresh reminder that Australia and New Guinea were part of the same landmass only 10,000 years ago. New Guinea was connected to Australia by a land bridge known as the Sahul Shelf, so it's no surprise that many animals are similar between the two islands. But the division of the green and chocolate frogs goes back even further, to about 5.3 million years ago. The green tree frog evolved to survive in the savannah, while the chocolate frog evolved to survive in the swamp, and probably any chocolate fountains it happens to come across. Number 5. An ancient tablet. Around 4,000 years ago, a scientist in Babylon created a clay tablet using a reed for a pen that, according to scientists, is a more accurate trigonometry table than what is available today. This Babylonian is unknown and nameless, but he managed to mark out the Pythagoras theorem 1,000 years before Pythagoras was born, along with a series of complex trigonometry tables. Scientists are stumped how he did it. The broken clay tablet is still around today, 3,700 years old, and kept at the Columbia University. The artifact is basically a lump of clay with 4 columns and 15 rows of cuneiform. Today, it is the most accurate working trigonometry table in existence. It could have been used for constructing temples, complicated pyramids, and palaces, and it would have helped with the most sophisticated engineering of the ancient world. For example, archaeologists say the Hanging Gardens of Babylon may have been created thanks to this ancient device, as well as many of the other impressive structures built by the Babylonians. It's even possible that the technology found its way across the world to the ancient Egyptians, who used the knowledge to construct their own pyramids. But how can an ancient device be more accurate than modern devices? It's not that scientists can't get more accurate calculations, it's that today, trigonometry uses a contemporary base of 10. In comparison, the Babylonians used a base of 60, which allowed for more accurate fractions. Number 4. Glass octopus. A sea creature like you wouldn't believe was witnessed recently in the deep waters of the Central Pacific Ocean. To be quite honest, most people don't even know this underwater miracle exists. It's one of the rarest cephalopods known to science. It's called a glass octopus, and it is absolutely stunning. Marine biologists spotted the elusive creature during an expedition near the Phoenix Islands, roughly 4,800 kilometers from Australia. The glass octopus is completely translucent. Its whole body is pale, see-through blue, except for its cylindrical eyes, which are bright orange. It's also possible to see the optic nerve and the digestive tract inside the octopus. The rest of it is completely opaque. Up until this newest encounter, there haven't been many meetings between scientists and glass octopi. It wasn't even identified until 1918, and since then, there have only been a handful of sightings. The creature lives in the twilight and midnight zones of the ocean, which means it ranges from around 200 to around 3,000 meters deep. Not a lot is known about the glass octopus, as no live specimens have ever been studied. It's believed that it has grown opaque to be invisible to predators, but really, scientists are just throwing guesses into the air when it comes to this majestic beast. Number 3. crystal dagger. A very rare and very cool crystal dagger has been discovered in a megalithic tomb in Spain. The ancient tool was found by archaeologists excavating a prehistoric site in Iberia. Other amazing artifacts found here include an ostrich egg, elephant tusks, and heaps of jewelry. But this crystal dagger was by far the most exceptional treasure, especially because scientists say it was probably used by a prominent member of society in order for them to gain magical powers. The experts say it is the most technically sophisticated rock crystal dagger ever discovered in the region and would have been carved by an exceptional blacksmith around 5,000 years ago. This was a time before iron, when early human beings made their tools and weapons from rocks and sticks. But one day, some very nifty human realized rock crystal was ridiculously sharp and good at cutting, and also rare. And so, crystal daggers became some of the most prized possessions of prehistoric Europeans. But what about the magical aspect? Because the rock crystal dagger was so unique, archaeologists say it probably had symbolic value and was used to gain magical powers, perhaps even allowing one to speak with the dead, or so they believed. The handle of the dagger was also made of ivory, skyrocketing its worth. It would have been wielded by someone of great wealth, perhaps the spiritual leader of a local tribe. Number 2. Galactic civilization. Scientists have made a pretty far-out discovery, way out in space. Recent computer simulations have revealed the most ideal place to search for alien civilizations. This is not a new endeavor. Scientists have been using mathematical models to try and determine how and where a civilization would have grown in our own Milky Way galaxy. There have been a few clues, but no solid results, leaving some scientists to wonder if perhaps we're alone in the galaxy after all. But this newest simulation added something new to the mixture. It accounted for the motion of the stars. As scientists now know, the Milky Way is a swirling mass of rock and dust, with everything constantly in motion. The simulation took this into account and showed scientists the most likely areas for the spread of a galactic civilization. It turns out the best place to look for evidence of a galactic empire is in the very center of any given galaxy. At the galactic core, scientists say space colonization would reach a peak increase. This would result in a dense concentration of technology and life, which we may be able to pick up on Earth with our own technology. We haven't found anything yet, but at least we now know where to look for real aliens. Number 1. The alligator turtle. A Florida man has been killed by a horrifying alligator turtle monster. David Curvin was 51 years old when his body was discovered lying on the side of the road, with his motorized bicycle trashed nearby. Also near him was the terrifying monster that took his life. According to the authorities, the fatal incident happened around 3 a.m., which is, of course, the usual time for turtle attacks. By the time fire rescue arrived, David was already dead. He had suffered a head injury and died on the spot. As for the turtle, it survived the encounter with the strange man and suffered nothing but a small crack in the bottom of its shell. First responders made sure the turtle was alright and then let it crawl away back into the bushes. But how did this turtle monster manage to kill a human? What happened is that David ran into the turtle on his bicycle. It was 3 o'clock in the morning and he couldn't see what was in front of him on the road. He hit the turtle, flew off his bike, and then smacked his head and died. It wasn't actually the turtle's fault, but hey, it probably feels guilty. Thanks for watching. Do you think a galactic civilization is out there? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for all the best stuff from the channel. See you next time. Bye!